Welcome back, family. This is the Old School Traveler. I've been traveling a whole lot, and I'm here to tell you about it. But I spent a month in Panama, not just Panama City. I went all over the country, and the place I went to, it's one of the places that I can go visit there on a weekend, but I'm not so sure that I want to live there. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't mistake it. I want to live in Panama, but I went to a city called Boquete. Boquete. I went there, and it's a nice little town, but I couldn't live there. No way. They got way too many expats, way too many Americans. When you can walk around in a foreign country and English is spoken by damn near everybody you run into, that tells me a lot about a city. When I see English being spoken by everybody and then everybody look like an American, that's not my kind of place that I want to go to and live there. If I live, if I want to live in a different country, I want to live in a different country. And when you get a lot of Americans, you're going to get their politics, whether they're from the Midwest, the South, the North, the West, wherever they're from. If America is so great, which I'm not saying it's not, because it's been good to me, but if America is so great, then why are you leaving? Now, you may ask, why am I leaving? I'm not leaving America. No. I want another place so that I can have a homestead when I want to travel to other parts of the world. Now, I like Panama because I can travel to South America and I can see Machu Picchu and I can see the Antarctica and all the other stuff. That's what I want it for. I'm never going to give up my house and my belongings in America. It's not going to happen. Now, some people are already pretty much set on that they're going to move to Panama, and that's what life is going to be like. But Boquete, I just don't see me living there. Now, it's in the mountains, and it's cooler than most of Panama, if not all of Panama. Now, that's what I like. I don't want 100-degree heat every day, and I don't want the rainy season to flood me every day during rainy season. And that's what happens when you move to some places in Panama. Flooding is real bad. And now, I have never been there during the rainy season, but I've seen enough videos and I know enough about it. Now, let's talk about Boquete. They got way too many restaurants. Whenever you get 200 restaurants and you only got 20,000 people, that's a lot of restaurants. And you know what? Most of them aren't really restaurants. They focus on being a bar first. And that, to me, is just not what I want. Now, don't get me wrong. If I was in my 20s, hell yeah, I love bars. Don't get me wrong. I'd be in a bar every night. And that's just the way Boquete, that's the appearance it gives me. But yet, it's a bar for old people. They got a lot of bars for old people because the average age in Boquete is probably about 60. Everybody goes down there because they want to be around other Americans. They want to have American food. Boquete got a lot of the chain stuff, but it's just not for me. Now, one thing I do like about Boquete is that it's cool. They got a lot of indigenous people, and they grow some of the best coffee. And I don't drink coffee, but everybody tells me, so they all can't be wrong. But they grow a lot of coffee and fruits and vegetables that's Panamanians buy in the grocery stores. That's where a lot of your farming work is done in Boquete. And Boquete got nice houses. But here's the thing. When you get a lot of Americans in any place in this world, the prices of everything go straight the hell up. The price is way higher than what it should be. And then you end up pricing the natives, people who live there, out of their own market, which is not what I'm trying to do. Now, I'm not saying I'm going there and live for free or live cheap because I'm not a cheap liver. I already know that. There are certain things and certain tastes I have that I'm not going to change no matter where I live at. If I have to change them, I'm not just going to go there and live there or go there more than once. It's just not me. I'm not a person who's going to Panama and my budget is $1,000 a month. No, I'm more the $4,000 to $5,000 because I like certain conveniences. And I do like my modern technology toys that I buy all the time, whether it's a camera, no matter what it is. Now, Boquete, when you first go there, it looked like a little farm town. It's only got really one main street. It's got one main street. It doesn't. It's not a city with high rises. And see, that's what I do like about it. As the older I get, high rises are all right in Panama City, but it's not all right for me. And I don't want a high rise on the beach. I don't have to be on the beach to be happy. If I can get there within an hour or two, I'm happy doing that. But Boquete is just too much of an American feel. You know what I mean? And when you have that too much of an American feel, you're not going to enjoy yourself, because that's one of the reasons you left America, because of taxes, because of your political views, because of medical care being crazy price wise. See, you go to Panama, you ain't got to deal with none of that. You ain't got to deal with none of that at all. And that's one of the things I like about Boquete, is that it's still cheap to me by American standards, like half the price. But, people tell me that the prices have been going up, not necessarily on rent, on renting places, but on, building something brand new over the years. Not crazy like America, where everything goes up 5 to 10% a year. It's none of that kind of stuff. But if you Panamanian, some of those numbers look crazy, because their wages are not like our wages, and they're not getting pensions or 401k investments like we're getting here. Their 401s and stuff is not going up crazy like ours is going up. Now, I ain't mad because the stock market going crazy. I'm enjoying the ride. But let's talk about some of the Americans that are that are there. I ran into a few Americans a few times, and they like to talk about politics. I would be leaving America to not talk about politics. That's my view. But they like to talk about politics, how great this is, how bad this is. Why don't you just move your ass to the villages? And Boquete gives me that feel. It gives me the feel that no matter what I do, no matter where I go, I'm not going to enjoy myself. And then one thing too, most of the restaurants, I feel like, actually I know, once you get a menu is in English, you can bet there's a price you're going to pay for it being in English. You're going to pay a price. You can bet that. You're not going to sit there and think that I'm paying what the Panamanians paying. No, you're paying a lot more than they're going to pay for the same food. Now, I didn't see any crime. I didn't see crime in Panama in general. But in Boquete, no, you can leave your door open and stuff and go to sleep and not really worry about it. Most crimes, from what I saw and heard, are crimes of opportunity. Now, if you leave your money laying down somewhere, $100 bill, of course someone's going to take it. I'm not saying everybody's going to take it, but someone's going to take it. So if you give people an opportunity, yes, guess what? They got to take advantage of it. It's just the way it rolls. Now, Boquete got a lot of places to shop at, but there is no one place you can go to get whatever you get, everything you need. No, you got to go to a city called David, David, David. It's just how they announce it or pronounce it. So you got to go about 30 or 40 minutes away to do your main shopping. And that's not bad either. But when you got a lot of Americans, one thing too, Americans tend to become your neighbors whether you want them to or not. It's just the way it is. I don't want you thinking because we're both Americans we can be friends. No, I like to pick and choose my own friends. I don't want you thinking that we can be friends because you know me or you see me in the neighborhood and we both are Americans or that kind of mess. Now, one thing I do like about Panamanians in general, they love their flag. They love their flag. Nothing wrong with that at all. They are loyal to the flag. So I'm going back down there because I'm going to get a visa so I can come and go. I can come and go anytime I want to. I want to have the luxury of doing that. So when I travel, I know that I don't have to make an 8 to 10 hour ride on an airplane to come back to the States. I can just stay in Panama for a couple of days, rest and relax, and then make, after 4 hours going down to South America, and then another 4 hours to get back to the States. I will be just happy just doing that. Because the older I get, the less I like long rides, no matter what it is. Whether it's a car or airplane, I don't like long rides. I like to take a break, get and stretch my legs every 3 or 4 hours. And 8 hours on an airplane, or even worse, going to Australia, it's not for me in this day and age. It was years ago. Now, saying that, I think that you can make it in Boquete because I've seen people of all income levels they all seem happy. I didn't see nobody mad. So I think you can make it with a side hustle or whatever it is you want to do. I think you can make it in Panama. And Boquete, you're going to have people of different shades, and they all seem to get along. You can have people of different shades, and they all seem to get along. Now, saying that, a lot of the restaurants that I went to, they are owned by foreigners. You know, they are. That's why I say I think you can make it, because they are owned by foreigners. A lot of the restaurants I went to. Now, as far as diversity goes, food-wise, they had little food from everybody too, because they got Europeans that has settled there. They got, they got Europeans, and they got people from India and other places that's open restaurants and stuff. Now, it's not going to be as diverse as you may think, because remember, a lot of things and a lot of people are from the States and Canada. So that's the kind of food you're going to have. And it's not like you think. A lot of people are from like Florida and Texas. It's not all over the United States. It's not that at all. No, a lot of people from Texas and Florida are there, and you also can tell where they come from if you see a consulate too. If there's a consulate near you, those are people, a Panamanian consulate, those are people who are going down to Panama. But a lot of them are going for the wrong reasons. I'm not saying your medical is not important, but some people are just don't have the money, or they have unrealistic budgets that they think they can live in Panama off those budgets that are unrealistic. I know for a fact I can't live off $1,000 a month, and I know for a fact because I know my lifestyle, and I know my wife's lifestyle. I know my wife's lifestyle, and I know mine. Now, if you're single and all you got is just your Social Security, I think you can make it. I'm never going to try, but I think you can make it though. Some people down there, they do that because you can get rent from $400 a month all the way to $2,000 a month. And at the upper end of 2,000, like 1,800, 1,700, you live in the lifestyle. But that's what rent costs in some places in the States. So, you got, the associated costs as far as getting a car, insurance, and other stuff. That's where Panama looks really cheap. When you add all those things together, electricity, internet, and all that, when you add them all together, that's where Panama really stands out versus the States. It ain't so much your rent, because I can get rent in the States for $1,600 a month. Hell, you can go to Mississippi and buy the whole damn state for $1,600 a month. I mean, so it all depends on where you want to be at. But the associated costs, because remember, we are a consumer spending driven economy in America. Yes, we want to see everybody broke, spending money you ain't got, put on your credit cards. That's what we live for. Where most of the rest of the world are big into saving. You look at what we make versus what somebody in France makes. Somebody in Europe makes, somebody in Central and South America makes. We make a lot of money, but we save none because we're taught it's best to go spend and be broke than it is to have money in the bank and be happy. Young people aren't taught financial literacy in school these days. They're not taught that stuff at all. In Boquete, you're not finding upper class Americans. And when I say that, I don't mean uneducated. I mean, you're not finding people with huge wages, people who make a lot of money. Because if they did, they would not want to be in Boquete. And now Boquete is probably the most expensive city in Panama because you got a lot of expats. Matter of fact, let me give you a statistic. 1 out of every 4.5 to 5 people in Boquete is a foreigner. Primarily American. 1 out of every 5. 1 out of every 4. That's a lot of people in a foreign country. And you walk around and everybody looks like you, talk like you, and eat what you eat. Where's the cultural experience that you moved to these places for? Now, some of you didn't move for the cultural experience. I am. I want to be around Panamanians. I want to eat Panamanian food. I love their fruits and vegetables, and I love their meats. They eat a little bit too much fried food for me. But I can get over that though, because you can always, anything you can fry, you can cook a different way. I'm a chef and I already know that. You can cook it a different way. You ain't got to fry because that's how it tastes. Or some people want to lick their fingers because they love the grease. Yeah, that's just not me. Now, like I said, I applied for a visa so I can have me a landing spot whenever I travel other parts of the world. And Copa Airlines, it's not that great to me, but I've only flown on it twice. But it's not that great to me. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. The lighter your skin seemed like the more you had, unless you were a foreigner in Boquete. Boquete near the city is David. That's where all your major stuff is going to be done at. That's where your major medical care is going to be done at. Now, getting back and forth, take the train for a couple of dollars and not a problem. But other than that, you got to get a car. Now, in Panama City, you don't need a car because Uber is so damn cheap, and so are taxis. And like I said, they got a lot of taxis in Panama. I mean, a lot. And from what I heard, and I don't know how true it is, but I kind of believe it, the taxis are kind of like a mafia. They got their own organization, their own union, and they're things that only taxis can go to and do and stuff. And it is what it is, you know. But Boquete don't have any east or west roads. They're all actually what they call north. We would call going to the east. The Panamanians, it's kind of weird, you know, what they call north. You know, like they go, you know, they're east and west, what we call north and south. And the reason is because it's on a volcano, an active volcano. So if that doesn't bother you, scare you, it's been dormant for 400 years. But Mother Nature has a way of waking your ass up, at least when you expect it, and she don't always give a warning. Ask anybody who live in a hurricane zone or the rim of fire belt, they'll tell you how Mother Nature works. So saying all that, if you want to go and live in somewhere in the country and stuff, if you want to go and live that lifestyle, you got Boquete. They got as many Americans percentage wise as hell. New York City, they got just as many. You know, I mean, and yet people go there and people love it, and it's cool. The temperature is 70, 80 degrees year round. At night, you really don't need an air conditioner. You know, you don't need a heater. So there are all kind of ways you can save money on utilities that you wouldn't have to do in the States. In the States, you're going to need one of the two, a heater or AC. It ain't no ifs, ands, and buts. It is what it is. You know, I get people say, I don't need either one. Yeah, at some point, you're going to need the other. I don't know where you live at, how you want to live, but you're going to need the other. Now, car insurance is cheap as hell, too. And parking in Boquete is not easy. It's not easy. You know, Panama do not build places that you can park. You know, they have, you know, stores and stuff with a couple of parking spots in front of it. But guess what? They're always crowded. And if not, it's because the place is closed. So there's no winning that at all. You know, but, you know, like I said, you can eat very cheap. Living there is very cheap by my standards. Now, some of you are going to say, well, I went to Panama, it's expensive. Well, because you ate where all the expats ate. And yet, you know what? And they should rip your ass off. Yeah, I tend to eat where the locals eat. I know I can get a taco for $1. You go where all the expats goes. Yep, you can get a taco, but you're gonna get my paycheck to get it. When you see how much the locals are paying for the same taco. Yeah, so Boquete is not one of those towns that you're gonna get a nightlife. Not at all, because remember what I said. A lot of the restaurants are really bars. That's the only thing open at night, you know, and then they charge you expat prices, you know, because I went to places where a beer was like $3, which a Panamanian is going to pay. When I went to the expat places, it was $5 and $6. A shot of liquor was $12 where the expat goes. When I went to where the Panamanians go, I was paying $5 for Grey Goose and orange juice. I mean, I was paying almost nothing. I mean, life was good. So, saying all that, Boquete is probably out of the 4 places I looked at the most, is probably the place I would not pick out of those 4. No way in hell. Like I said, I don't want to go to Little America. You know, I just don't want to do that. Some of you may say it's for you. And like I said, there's no nightlife. The whole town goes to bed at 7:30. Well, no, they eat late as hell. About 9 o'clock, the whole town's in bed. And which that is ideal if you want peace and quiet. That's ideal. You don't see police, you don't see ambulance, you don't see a lot of stuff. Everything pretty much shuts down at the same time. And that is great. That's ideal. But I don't want, you know, I like my peace and quiet, and I don't want all that noise and other stuff late at night. No. I don't want that stuff either. To be honest about it, I don't want it either. But at the same time, if I want, you know, if I got my son or friends or relatives in town and we want to go have a good meal and do things, we can do that in Boquete. We can do all that in Boquete. It's just not it's made for senior citizens to me. It made for senior citizens and people who want to backpack and hike all over the Panama because it's ideal for that kind of environment. But there ain't shit to do. I think in like 2 days, I'd be like, okay, what's next? Because there's nothing to do. No. Now, they have their festivals and carnivals and all that, and that's a blast. That's a blast. People love that kind of stuff. But when that's not going on, what are you going to do? There's nothing for you to do at all. Go home, go to bed, look at YouTube all day, I guess. Basically, you go there when you got 1 foot in the grave, or you almost got 1 foot in the grave, because it's pretty peaceful and quiet. It is dead. It's dead. But it is a walkable city because it only has one street. That street runs north and south. It has one street. And you can walk the entire street in about 90 seconds. And yet on that main street, I didn't see a lot of local people. No. I sit there and watch. I saw a lot of foreigners go up and down that street. And now the locals live in these little houses on these little side streets. And to be honest about it, that's where your best looking houses are, on these little side streets. That's where your best looking houses are, not on that main street. That main street just an avenue to get to those side streets where the pretty things are. Yeah, it's a big difference. But you can get rent for anywhere, like I said, anywhere from $500 a month to $2,000. I don't know anybody who's paying more than $1,000 a month for rent, but I heard that prices are going up, and they do have places like that. So this is Boquete. This is your old school traveler saying, if you want to be in America but not be in America, Boquete is the city for you. My idea of having a place outside of America is so that I'll be outside of America, not in America in a different city or a different country. But some people, that's what they live for. This is the old school traveler telling you peace. We'll talk in a minute about Panama again.